I'm here to talk to you today about one of the coolest things I purchased last year, which is my Husqvarna Automower. So I've seen a lot of reviews online from Europe, but almost none from America, which was somewhat strange. And I said, let's represent the good old US of A and get an American review out here to talk to you about how this system performed under the climate conditions, which granted may not be very different, but even still here in the States. So, a little bit of background about me. I've always wanted to live in the Jetsons house growing up, like I'm sure so many of you watching this review have as well. My house is about 6,000 square foot, and every light bulb, everything from my washer, dryer, smart speaker, television, gas, my oven, everything is connected to the internet, and through the Internet of Things, talks to one another. So, when I found out about these lawnmowers that mow your property, I was intrigued to say the least. I went online and I looked into several different iterations that have come out here in the US market. And I have about an acre of grass, so it's quite time intensive for me to sit and mow my lawn consistently. And I, quite frankly, have no desire to do so. I'd rather spend time with my family or just relaxing watching a good movie. So, with that in mind, I was very interested in these automowers, which have come out from different companies. But after watching performance reviews on YouTube, I figured out that the Husqvarna Automower performs better, more efficiently, and most importantly, gives you the most consistent, reliable cut without any form of manual intervention. What I mean by that is it's almost like a set it and forget it kind of device. So I watched a lot of these reviews. Most of them, if not all of them, were from people in Europe that were lent the product and were told, here's your 30-day Automower challenge. Why don't you review it and break it down? And I encourage you, if you're watching this, to have a look at them because many of them are very good. But as far as I'm concerned, I just figured let's compare these online, which I did, and then let's dive straight in. So I went to my local Husqvarna dealers and I called about four of them and I got price quotes and I talked to the guys. So what's really important for me is, you know, like so many of you, to make sure that the person I'm talking to knows their stuff. They're passionate about their technology just as much as I am about buying it. So, I want to be able to have a real conversation. And I found that, three of the four people I called actually were only talking to me about price. They were trying to break down, what it is to get service versus what the Automower would provide me in terms of a break-even analysis. Now, this is something that, fortunately, as a business graduate major, I was able to do myself. So I really didn't need them explaining the mathematics behind it. More so just the functionality and the usability, which, as a geek, I understand myself, but at the same time, I just wanted to feel like I'm talking to someone that cares about this thing as much as I do. Um, and two calls in, I was like, maybe these guys are all just trying to make a pitch. Three calls in, nothing. So I moved on, and the fourth guy I called was actually from a group called Langton Group. And as luck would have it, I happened to call one of the owners. His name is Joe, and it was great because the moment I talked to this guy, I really felt like I was talking to a mirror image of me. Someone that's, gone online, done the research, read every page of the manual. And, I was really taken in by by the amount he knew, technically speaking, about the Automower, how the different versions compare, what the Automower is able to do. But I was still on the fence because, I mean, it is a large scale purchase, and, for a robot, it could be a tough pill to swallow, especially if you're skeptical. So what I ended up doing is, I tried to find somewhere around me that had a demo unit or whatever. And then I called Joe back and I said, "Hey man, you know, I really really want to see this thing in action because I've read a lot, the reviews look great, but it's a $2,500 more, and it's the first time I've heard of it, so I don't feel comfortable just committing." As luck would have it, Joe actually not only believed in this as much as I did, but at the time, and I don't know if at the making of this review if this is still true, he actually ended up inviting me to his home after a few conversations. We got along, and he said, "Hey man, I don't just sell this, I believe in it. Why don't you come over and take a look?" So I go to Joe's house, and sure enough, there's this guy's Automower. And Joe's lawn was legitimately one of the coolest lawns I've seen. Everything was even. Nothing over there seemed, patchy, out of place, and it was just, it seemed like I was walking on a lush green carpet rather than a lawn. And I think that seeing that, I was committed and convinced that this is what I'm looking for. So over the next few clips, I'm actually going to show you what we went through together, because I would like you to come on this journey with me and maybe get an introduction for what it was like when I was setting up Automower. And at the end of this video, I'd like to share some of my thoughts with you, because if you are thinking of buying this thing, I'll tell you when I think this may be a good investment for you and when this may not work out as well. So thanks for tuning in, and have a look at these clips. So here is our grass when we got Langton Group. There is actually Joe and my wife just kind of walking the field and surveying part of the property. I believe this was on the day of installation. So here is a little look at the grass height pre-installation and pre-Husqvarna running and taking care of it. And as you will see, the grass is pretty long and the property is fairly big, which is what really helped make this a worthwhile investment. Now, if you have a smaller property than mine, I think you'd still have the peace of mind knowing that you've got the best lawn in your neighborhood, like I pretty much think I do, but also you don't have to put in the kind of effort, wasting time that, I at least felt I could spend with my family and my friends. Um, so here we are going through trees. As you can see, here's, just uneven grass growth. What's important to note about the Husqvarna is that when it notices that grass is like this and it's growing uneven, it will actually spiral cut in certain areas to make sure that it counterbalances against an increase in grass growth in these spot areas, almost like a Roomba. It can spot clean, but the difference is that because this has tracking technology in the form of sonar and GPS built into it, it knows where it feels more resistance, or rather grass growth, over time. And so it will go back to certain areas because it knows that, hey, this area probably grew out a little bit more, and it wants to make sure that it keeps your grass nice and even so it feels like that lush carpeted lawn. And again, thank you for bearing with this long demonstration. But as you can see, it's very very long in terms of the grass. So here is Joe. Actually, he's mowing the cabling into the ground in areas that we decided. And then here is Langton Group essentially protecting trees that I had planted. So they're very particular and careful. This is the box that the Husqvarna comes in. And this is, essentially the base station that they were installing. Now this is really the brains, the heart, the hub, and so it's really important that you get this in the right area. And they were very good about guiding me as to where they feel this should go and why. And then of course, guys, here it is. It's up and running. It's working. It is starting to do its job. This is numero uno, the first cut. And it is just. I mean, it was so nice to experience this and see this going. Now, essentially, this first cut was two things: a cut and the Husqvarna learning where its boundaries are, which it also did over a little bit of time. I hope that you found that helpful. Now, for me, having it, I thought I'd put up a review a week in. Then I said, no, let me wait a month. And then I said, you know what? The most substantial review would be one season in. Which is why, despite getting this in 2017, I'm posting this review in 2018. So here are my thoughts. If you have a dog fence, stay away, because I had a really hard time figuring out how to get the mower to properly work without it causing interference, because Husqvarna, while they allow you through a setting to change the frequency that this is communicating with the base station, has not allowed you, the user, to see the frequency it's communicating on. So that means that if you are, let's say, on 100.3 through your dog fence, you may very well be in that frequency or one very close to it. And fortunately, I was able to navigate those waters because of the experience that the Langton Group had with these things in the past. Without the Langton Group kind of chiding me in the right direction and reconfiguring this for me, this thing would have been dead in the water. The reason for that is because, with my dogs, I have these invisible dog fences, and there was a clash over there. So that's number one. Number two, what I really really liked about Joe and Langton Group was that when Joe came over, he spent about maybe an hour and a half, looking at my property, talking to me about the product, which he did after I told him that I want to proceed and essentially install this in my house. And through his knowledge with the Husqvarna in the past, Joe was actually able to point out things in my yard that he said, hey man, that needs to change and that's not going to work. So he had a really, really good eye. And, most of these things, because Langton Group was also a landscaping company, they were able to fix at minimal additional cost to me. Like, this is really, really reasonable. And I was like, all right, fine, let's just do it. So there was all that taken care of, but he had also pointed out one particular hill that was uneven in surface because, we moved into this new home, we removed, the wiring and all the nonsense the previous owner had, and then we put down grass seed. And as we did this, the terrain became very uneven. Now, because it was uneven terrain, he said, hey, some of the wheels can get stuck, especially when the soil is loose. And we said, okay, that's a little bit of a bigger expense. Maybe we will do that in the future. So we let that one go. And sure enough, it did give me a good amount of trouble in the beginning. My fix to that was this isn't a very big hill. It's really at the edge of one of the sides, one of the corners. And so I had Joe come back and move the wire forward past the hill so it didn't have to climb up. So I really, really liked how Langton Group had a really great eye and helped me remediate any potential issues that could have caused a problem for my Husqvarna, and gave me, fair warning before they charged me for anything, before we put any, cabling in the ground, and before I even paid them, about, what they thought the product would work like in my yard. Um, and then, finally, this is probably my biggest piece of advice. So I have some neighbors I really like, and I have some neighbors I really don't like. And, the neighbors I really don't like are, they're very pompous. They think that they own the neighborhood, and they, they're very petty with people. So if you do get this thing and you install it in your yard, I can almost guarantee that your lawn will be as well manicured and carpeted. Carpeting is probably the best word to use for this as mine. So if you invest in this and you see them out there on a Sunday riding their little mowers, wasting their time, don't forget to go up to them and talk to them about what you have. Um, and remind them how important it is to cut their grass every week so that their lawn can look half as good as yours. Guys, seriously, if I had to sum up my Husqvarna in one word, it was effortless. And I really hope that if you go down this path, you are able to experience the extreme joy that I got out of owning this product, and I continue to get. Oh, and before I forget, just one thing, guys. So if you do get this product, a big tip is to get the Automower Connect. Now, for the purposes of this video, I've logged out, but this is the application, and basically it's really important because it allows you to connect, change, the grass height, the cutting height, and mostly monitor this device from your phone, so you don't actually have to go out there and check on, where it is, what it's doing, and really worry. It really provides you peace of mind. So, personally, if I was to buy this again, I would buy this again. This thing is the best thing. I would never ever buy this from a dealer I didn't trust, because if you ever run into an issue like I did with my fencing, you're screwed. Like, once they put the cable in the ground, these guys can peace out and say, look bro, I've got it all done. Sorry, no returns, especially for the labor. But I really appreciate the honesty and the friendliness and really the expert skill level that I feel I got lucky with when working with Langton Group. And the third thing is, get the app, man. It's like, just a little bit more, but the peace of mind it gives you, super cool. And who knows, in the future maybe that'll tie into the Internet of Things. So, when your lawn's done mowing for, one round, maybe your lights will blink or whatever. Who knows what you're going to use it for? But if you're thinking about it, really do it. It is the best thing that's happened to lawn care since lawn care. So I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for taking the time to hear my thoughts about my great experience with the Husqvarna as well as the lawnmower. Oh, And sorry, one other thing. If you ever have a problem with your Husqvarna and you call support, in my experience, they always tell you to go back to your dealer. So just something to keep in mind when committing to a product. All right, thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Bye bye.